back, everyone, to Double Dose. I am your host, Dipesh.
And I'm your host, Daniel.
And we're here to take you from Earth to Fast and Furious 94.
Yeah.
I hope that ages well, dude. What if
Have you watched it recently?
I haven't watched it recently, but I remember seeing a video of someone saying they skipped a couple and they watched the movie where Ludacris is first introduced, his character.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't know.
Isn't that number 2? Too Fast, Too
Yeah,
Furious?
I think Too Fast, Too Furious. And like he's organizing like streetcar races or whatever, like shit like that.
Yeah.
And they missed a couple of movies, and then all of a sudden, like he's hacking into like CIA intelligence. It's like, what? Wait a minute, what happened? What did I miss?
Yeah.
Just upskilled the shit out of it himself.
So, what I've noticed though is sometimes you go on those YouTube binge sessions and you'll just watch the Fast and the Furious race scene, then you just watch all like a little bit of it.
Oh, Monica!
Yeah, you'll watch a little bit of all of that stuff, right? So sometimes I'll be like, where Brian comes in on the scene and you watch it, and I'm like, fuck, all the cars are very like early, like late 90s, 2000s, where the cars are just overdone with like decals and
Pimp My Ride was popping.
Pimp My
Never
Ride
Spin
was
Underground
just
too.
overshot. Like everything was not discreet. Now the cars are heaps more subtle and more like sleeper look.
Yeah, for sure.
If anything,
for sure.
So it just looks real dated, and he's got that blonde hair and
the little frosted tips, and they got the big decals on the sides of the car.
It's really cheesy.
It was all about the tech, like sound system, and like the dude's like playing the PS2 before the race in the car. But remember that?
Yeah. And it was nothing to do with the world is ending. It was all just the tight knit relationship about that car scene, which then it just went berserk to be like, we got to save the planet.
Yeah. It's like humble street races, a cop trying to infiltrate, find out what some shit getting stolen.
Yeah.
Parts getting stolen. Yeah,
parts are getting stolen. And then it was more like the Vin Diesel versus, what's his name? Paul Walker.
Yeah.
So it was just a lot of that. And it didn't have to be anything more than
Jason Statham, John Cena, The Rock, and shit just got real.
Yeah, and then it's like, I feel every movie now, for the stakes to be high, it has to be world ending. Like even Jumanji is like the world's gonna end.
Yeah.
But back in the original one, it was just, it's just.
None the wiser, like no one knew. Everything just reset. Was it a dream?
It's just a dream, a video game.
Yeah.
And no one cared. The whole world is gonna blow up. It was like, we just have to stop what's going on now, and that's okay that it's tight knit.
Yeah.
I don't think it's aged well.
There's only 10, right? Like the next one or the one after, like that is 100% confirmed. The last Fast and Furious.
Don't say it. You can't say confirmed forever last. They'll reboot it in 20 years.
I did see someone did an interesting comment for the byline of the movie, and it was Fast and Furious 10. Fast 10 your seatbelts, and I was like, that's good. That's creative.
Fast 10
I like that. I like that, dude.
Hire this man.
Write this down.
So I got something straight off the bat for you.
Let's do it, man.
Okay. This is earth-shattering, crazy science.
Are you saying this is Fast and Furious 11? The world's going to end.
Confirmed. I have the behind-the-scenes scoop of...
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
Number 11 is back. No.
Number 11.
So they've been... Scientists... Okay, just disclaimer alert. I don't know 100% of the facts. I am not a scientist. Don't ask me to explain. I will definitely say something wrong. Do not slander me.
Don't go in the comments and label Daniel as a pseudoscientist, because he's not even a scientist.
These guys don't know fucking anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did these guys even go to university and do a doctorate before they spoke and stuff?
What? Reverse engineering? These guys are stupid. All right. That's you.
How come no one knows all the acute knowledge that I know specifically with my worldview?
Yeah.
All right.
So,
get me to write this down.
They have taught... So this is what these scientists did. They were able to grow brain cells or like human... they were able to put in a petri dish living tissue and teach this living tissue how to play Pong on the video game.
It was cells from a brain? Or just...
I think it was just living brain tissue.
Yeah, okay.
That was put inside a petri dish, and all the petri dish did was make like electrical signals.
Yeah.
Like it was like a bunch. Like inside the petri dish was just a bunch of neurons that was some sort of very low level consciousness.
So was it taught on like a reward system? Like I guess like just basic like you get zapped if you don't do the right thing, and you get fed something that's nutritious to the cells.
So they were like, well, what level is this thing even working
Yeah.
at? Because it's like, how do you give it a reward system? You're on the money. They did give it a reward system, but
Okay.
it's like, this thing is just like a bunch of cells. It doesn't really have like a consciousness. It's not really alive. It is, but it's like
It's a bit lobotomized.
it's like a very basic computer. Like, what is it? It's like a bunch of cells in a petri dish.
yeah.
And they taught the cells, that the neurons, by a reward system, which was whenever it hit the ball of the pong, the game, so it goes up and down and the ball's, bouncing around, and then whenever it hit the ball, it flashed electrical signals on a certain amount. So like there was like eight electrical nodes, and whenever it hit the ball, it pulsed all the nodes at once. So it'd be like beep, beep, beep.
Gave it a little orgasm.
It gave it like a
little-
little stimulation.
Just a little. Oh!
It stimulated the neurons.
Yeah.
But when it missed it, it sent the signals off randomly, because they thought, if this thing is consciousness, what is essentially consciousness? What is a brain? What they spoke about it was that, what they said about it was that a brain is essentially a stimulus understanding machine. So your brain develops because it's like, okay, you have eyeballs, and the eyeballs translate this into this perception, which then translate to this, which then do this. And so your ears interpret this. So it's like when you're a baby, everything's overstimulating because you don't know what anything is. But once you begin to learn what everything is, and you start understanding around the world, and things that you expect are happen.
Yeah.
For instance, like when I touch something, I have the sensation of being felt. That
Learning
feels
the
safe.
patterns.
Learning the patterns of
Yeah.
life. What things mean, and to a human brain, something that happens that's expected is considered good, is considered safe.
So what you're saying is, in this instance, consciousness could essentially be something that is it's learning the patterns and self-awareness of a machine that is controlling, that has the basic instincts for life in general.
Yes.
So the machine, being the body, has access to all the senses.
Yep.
And
it
the
would
consciousness is just
figuring it out.
learning the patterns and knowing what feels good, what feels bad, to keep this machine working.
That's exactly right.
Oh wow, that's a weird way to look at it, dude. It makes you feel almost automated.
Yeah. And so they said, and it's like, do we really have any choice in what we do? And stuff like that. It's like, not really. We're human, and we don't have much choice in that. But we are consciousness and whatever. So they said that because this thing wasn't a machine, it's not a bunch of silicon chips. It was a bunch of neurons that they had grown in a petri dish, which connected to electrical plates. Like, these are little electrical nodes.
Yeah.
But the whole system was essentially a very low level brain that they created. And what they said is that when the expected thing happened, which was flash the pulses all together 2 times or 3 times, when the good thing happened, but when the bad thing happened, make it random, because then the brain and the neurons can't understand what's going to happen. It's chaotic for it. So they said, I think that will work. And within 15 iterations of playing Pong, it understood what it had to do.
That's scary, dude.
Versus
That's scary.
what they said, machine learning AI took over 5,000 times for it to learn.
Interesting.
So they said, this is scary, because it's like, are we creating something right now that can understand pain? Is this machine actually going to be a machine but technically have pain and have feelings and have... It's like, if we start applying this to the real world situations where it's like we can build something that is essentially alive but can play a video game, or we use this thing as a computer, are we creating consciousness that
is that not
pain?
essentially a cyborg? If you were to strap that into a machine...
it's a cybernetic consciousness.
Yeah, because like if you had like that little petri dish strapped into a full machine, and you've evolved it to get to the point where it's like it knows to destroy humans and
but
save
not even beyond
tech.
that. It's just understanding what's going on around it.
Yeah.
So it's like it is alive.
Yeah.
Because it's not even a part of the machine. It is alive.
It's organically choosing right from wrong.
Yeah, it's organically choosing right
Yeah.
from wrong and figuring it out on its own completely.
Yeah. Do you think if they left it for a couple of days and then tried the experiment again, it would have forgotten because it doesn't have enough computing power to remember that?
Possibly. I think it's always trying to adapt to what's going on. So there was not a huge amount I read on it. Like I didn't go super crazy deep on it, but I came across this and thought, wow, we are creating consciousness from nothing.
That's scary, dude. Where's that at now? Like, they would have just kept going with that thing. Who knows how far they took that experiment?
This just happened. This was like, they just wrote a paper about it.
Wow, that's freaky, man.
So we are already creating brains in petri dishes that can play video games.
Because I remember...
Can you, like, just think about that for a second. We have created a little brain that can play a video game.
It's very frightening, man.
Very scary.
I just feel like you should not be toying with that sort of stuff. It'll
they had
go
the
down a bad
discussion.
road
It's
real
like,
quick.
okay, well, we should treat this thing under the same laws and principles we treat all mammals, which is like, you know, should be protected, shouldn't be enslaved, that type of thing.
Right.
But they said, but then, you know, is this thing really conscious? Like, because we don't treat ants and invertebrate with any level of consciousness.
Man, imagine this was like an alien's thought process when they just came to us and they saw apes and they're like, boop, conscious now.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? It's kind of inhumane. It's in alien to do this. Let's go. Let's bugger off and we'll leave them to it. They're self-aware now. They can have fun.
Yeah.
That's freaky, dude. I remember a few years ago, scientists had mapped every single electronic brainwave of some type of worm or a centipede because it has such a small brain. They managed to map out every electronic pulse, so they in fact could know what every muscle twitch, thought, sensation that this creature had. And they're like, this is just the beginning. In a few years' time, we'll be able to map out a whole human brain.
That's insane.
And you could just see the diagram, and it was just like lines connected to lines, and then theorized.
They build AI to understand it because it's like that's too much data for a person.
Yeah.
But Elon Musk and the Tesla shit, they're already doing the chips into people's brains so they can control their phones.
Yeah.
And they're showing they have AI to calculate the signal. Like you have some set up initial stuff where it's like, watch something go right, watch something go left, because everyone's brains are essentially different.
Yeah.
So it's like, watch something go right, watch something go left, and then you can essentially think the thing go right, go left, and then the AI can copy it.
I remember the ape trials, super scary, wasn't it? Like it had a joystick and I just had to maneuver this block through a maze.
Yeah.
And every time I did the right thing, I got a milkshake, little sip of milkshake. And they did it for a while it was all hooked up. And then there was still a point where they detached the controls from the joystick and it was doing it with the chip.
Yeah.
And it's still successfully doing it. And it's like, oh, this is working now.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Neuralink.
Neuralink,
Yeah. And it's like we're getting a chimp to just control this thing with
a chimp was doing it already.
Yeah.
It'll be second nature. Dude, all you need is one influencer to be like, hey guys, so I got the new Neuralink today.
It's amazing.
The unboxing is amazing. Check it out. Super easy to install.
And it's in.
It's in. Now check this out.
I'm watching eight videos of porn at once.
Yeah, I just watched TikTok and porn at the same time.
Oh, sweet Jesus. We're almost there.
Yeah. Use my code.
I'll tell you what, you can all fucking do that all you want. I ain't touching the shit. I never put anything in my brain.
Use my code brainwash10 for 10% off.
Yeah, brainwash for 10% off. That's fucking gold. Anyway, I thought that was super interesting.
That is
what
very
do you think
interesting,
that's
man.
going to mean? Are we going to start making computers that are out of brain?
Do you think they want to? What do you think the direction is? See how far they can make it work, or see how they can quickly adapt it into the machine world for like a computer CPU.
I'm
Which
thinking
direction?
we're going to be seeing in the next couple of years. It's like Petri dish brain completes Mario in world record time speed run.
Yeah, speed run.
Has optimized and found out all this crazy shit about the game.
Because if it doesn't have to worry about physical motor skills and it's just all computing power and they just jank the speed up to 5 times the speed of the game and it's just going just speed run the game like that, that's pretty freaky. And then they have the speedrunners go head to head against the petri dish.
Yeah.
That's a South
the
Park
guys like
shit.
trying to like optimize the finger.
Yeah,
pressing,
yeah.
and This thing's just like.
It's just all just like finger twitches, and he's just trying to best he can. And this little petri dish is like full setup with the Twitch stream live. Everyone's cheering on the chat. And it's just a petri just sitting there with just 2 nodes stuck in it,
Yeah.
and it's all the esports and shit.
Yeah, and everyone competing against it. Can you beat the brain?
Yeah, holy
Oh,
crap,
dude! We're there. It's happening.
that's freaky.
There's only a time before this thing becomes Pong World Champion.
What's that Marvel villain dude? MODOK? Is it MODOK? Yeah,
Marduk.
MODOK.
MODOK?
It's just the big head, the brain.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh man, Daniel.
Hit me. Baby,
You
one more
were
time.
you're talking to me today that you've been doing some grounding lately, and I wanted to talk to you about that because I saw an interesting video, and it actually might have been a clip from the documentary that you said you had watched, where a man did some light research on grounding, and he wanted to just test it out. He's like, "What do you have to lose?" And this was in the late 90s, and he essentially got metal duct tape.
Yep.
Stripped it to his bed,
Yep.
and he ran a wire from the bed down to out the window, down the lawn into a rod, and stuck the rod in the ground. Went to sleep on top of the conductive strip, and he said in the morning he felt great, and he didn't have any aches or anything like. And he said he had a great night's sleep, and then he wanted to take it further, and he went. I think he tried to like find any funding to get this project even studied, and he went to a university, UCLA, and I think a professor or whatever goes, "Okay, look, I'll entertain you. I won't go on the side of I'm going to debunk your theory. Let's set this up and do it for real."
Yeah.
And they got 60 people to test this while sleeping grounded, and outstanding results. Just far better sleep that they've ever had. Super like reduced inflammation, reduced PMS symptoms. People's like TMJ were going away.
Yep.
Really interesting stuff.
Yeah, so this is the documentary that I watched.
Cool.
And
I
it's
want to watch that
free.
documentary.
It's free on YouTube. It's called The Earthing documentary.
I'm going to check this out.
Totally free to watch on YouTube. What I was upset about in the documentary, unfortunately, was that I feel like they didn't go hugely into the data. It's the first one. It's an hour long, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I watched it maybe 3 days ago.
Okay.
4 days ago.
Okay. I want to definitely check that out.
So what they didn't go, and I'm going to do a lot more research on my own, is that was very limited what they had on about the guy talking, how he did the earthing outside and the inflammation reduction, which they all found was amazing.
Yeah.
They didn't go heavily into that, which sucked. And then they didn't. So the story went like one of his initial things that kind of sparked this idea of grounding for him was that he grew up on the land years ago, and there was like a big Indian culture, like an Indian American culture, where he was, and he went to like an Indian tribal, I think he was quite close with them, an Indian tribal meeting or something like that, and he talked about this one instance where he went into the Indians.
I think it's just indigenous now. It's
sorry,
it's just indigenous Americans or.
Oh, okay. Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, indigenous.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, just like he went to one of their teepees, little huts, and there was some sort of ceremony going on, and one of the elderly women said to him, "Take your shoes off; they're gonna make you sick." And he goes, "Huh? That was a weird thing to say."
Yeah.
Okay, take my shoes off. And there was some sort of healing ritual going on for this young girl who was very sick, and they were like, she's not gonna make it any couple of days. She's not gonna be able to survive. So they dug out a hole in the ground and put her in it up to her neck and buried her and covered her in it, and she had to stay like that for several days.
Jeez.
Where she was just buried in the dirt, and it was apparently to like overdose with the earthing and the ground,
all the minerals and stuff,
all like to pull out all your negative like charge from your body.
It makes sense if we evolved on this planet. And
we're connected to it.
All animals have a sense of the magnetic fields of the earth and stuff. Like, why wouldn't we be in tune with that as well? It only makes sense. And it could even explain why there's so much more chronic disease on the rise, the more and more disconnected we are from nature.
Totally. So he had a sense that there was some sort of connection between the earth and people's ability to like function and heal. And he worked as an electrical, he worked on electrical lines and set up a lot of cable television in America. And he would always work on the grounding. You got to ground the signal, otherwise it's all noisy and all shit and whatever. And so ground it into the ground or whatever. So he then, I think, had some sort of near-death experience, or he went into a coma, or he had some sort of heart transplant, or I can't remember exactly what it was, but he had some sort of medical issue, and he woke from that and was like, I got to figure out what's going on in my life. Like, why did I get sick? Why did I do that? Because it came out of nowhere. And he then had, I think, the epiphany of that maybe people have to be grounded on the earth, like a signal, because our body is like full of electricity. We are essentially electricity. We're just a bunch of electricity that functions.
It's all just firing off.
It's all just firing off everywhere.
We're wearing rubber sole shoes.
Yeah,
and it's
he
just
talked
bouncing
about
back.
that.
Yeah.
So we're all insulated all the time, when in reality, they showed like on a microscopic level someone's blood. I think it was their blood or their cells in their body. And when you're insulated and not grounded, it's like not moving. And then they would have someone be grounded, and the flow in your body cells was ridiculous.
That's cool.
It was just like moving so much more. And they were talking about
it's like plugged in.
Yeah, it's like you're being plugged in, and you just, and he showed the difference between like, you could be grounded and touch someone and they're grounded. Yeah. That was the difference for them.
Dude, that reminds me of this McDonald's toy. Sorry to just do a sidestep there, but there was when Lilo and Stitch movie came out, they had a bunch of McDonald's toys come out, and they had the toy where if you touched both of this, I can't remember the character's hands, the big fat alien, if you touched both of his hands, he would light up, and you could essentially touch one hand and get your friend to hold the other hand, and then you touch your friend's hand.
Oh, and it would connect
and
the
circle. It'd make the complete circuit.
Yeah.
And I'd like link up like 3 people and be like, check this out. And you just all hold each other's hands. As long as 2 different people are holding his hands, it would light up. And I'm like, that's so cool, man. Like, it doesn't have to be the one person. No. We're all like just conducting the same charge into this toy.
It's pretty cool.
Really cool.
So he thought specifically that it's some sort of that was some sort of link, but they really didn't go into the science of it in the doco, which I was pissed about, and they never asked any indigenous people about what was going on.
That's so annoying.
I wish they went to like the indigenous people and say,
classic, I'm going to steal all your good shit and
they
just make a movie.
really interviewed a bunch of people who said it was awesome and why they think it was awesome.
Yeah.
There wasn't a huge amount of science behind it, but there was a scientific research for her, because the woman who did the documentary, she was doing a previous documentary and she got ill because there was some oil BP, I don't know if it's BP, but some sort of oil spill. They were researching it, and it was so toxic.
The oil BP, spill, that huge one in the sea?
I don't know if it was that one. I think it was a smaller. Nah, for ages. It was a smaller spill, and it wasn't getting much coverage, and it was in a town, and I think it was affecting her town.
Right.
And she wanted to get the word out. And so she was around this spill, and like apparently she got like mad toxicity just being around the area. So she was getting rashes, and then all of a sudden she had a bunch of miscarriages because she couldn't have a kid because all this toxicity was affecting her.
Yeah.
And so she had mad rashes and like all these crazy symptoms of coughing and like going on, and hormones were all over the place. Then she eventually was able to have a child, but the child was in and out of hospital constantly for 2 years. Then she came across this study called Premature Children Earthing Technique Vagal Tone. Vagal tone is your I don't want to get it wrong here, so I will look it up. I believe it's your...
I never even heard of that.
Vagal tone is your ability your body to regulate its nervous system, I think. I will just quickly look this up. So, you know the vagus nerve in your body?
Yes.
So the vagus nerve like regulates your nervous system, pretty much. The vagal tone is a measure of cardiovascular function that facilitates adaptive responses to environmental challenge. So what they did was they hooked up a couple hundred premature babies, because unfortunately premature babies, they don't get touched, which is a big thing with kids, like being touched. Like it's very, very important.
Contact is
very important.
Huge.
It's grounding
between mother and child.
The grounding between the mother and baby. So they connected a little wire to the baby on the arm and then earthed that wire. And earthing can be even in a PowerPoint because that PowerPoint is earthed somewhere in the ground. So people can buy these earthing sheets and you can sleep on them, or you can buy an earthing wire and connect it to a PowerPoint, and that will ground you to the outside.
I'd be too scared to do it to a PowerPoint. I'd probably have to thread it outside the window and just chuck it on the ground.
That's the best way.
Yeah.
That's the best way, but they say you can plug it into a PowerPoint and you will be getting rid of all your discharge of electricity. So they connected this to the babies, and they said the baby's recovery and the baby's survival rates and all that stuff for the preemies went up 67% just
Wow.
being earthed.
Wow.
So huge. And then she said, okay, hold on. My child is super sick. Maybe I can do something with this. And then they started practicing earthing with the child, and all her problems went away, is what she claimed.
Interesting.
And then she did the earthing herself, and she's like, all my rash is gone. All my toxicity levels are back to normal. And she lost like 30 kilos.
Do you think standing on grass is enough, or you need to kind of be in the dirt a little bit more? You need to kind of get sunk into
Grass is enough.
Yeah.
As long as you're touching it at any degree.
Yeah.
Grass is plenty.
Do you think the effectiveness is kind of like how light pollution is? So, like, if you were in a dense suburb and there's a lot of shit going on the ground, plumbing wires and cables...
because it just plummets straight to the earth.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
You don't need to... You don't think you would probably benefit a stronger connection being in a little bit more wilderness area as opposed to heavy suburban area?
I don't think it mattered too much from what they could see. It was because this guy
I can
was
imagine the
plugging it
magnetic
outside his window.
strength is less dispersed. There's a lot of less electricity flying around and shit going
but
around.
the Earth's magnetic force is barely influenced by people.
Yeah.
I would say, from what they said go outside. It doesn't matter any degree as long as you're barefoot. But they said the best thing to do is like get as many points of contact on the ground as possible. For instance, lie down in a park with shorts on and like spread your body out.
Okay.
Or like at the beach, cover yourself in sand. That's
Because
really good.
I remember seeing reading people being like, "Why do you feel so good after going to the beach?" It's
Yeah.
because you're just so grounded the
You're
whole
so
time.
grounded. You're connected with nature. You're
Yeah.
touching the ocean. The ocean's grounded. The water, it sucks it all out of you.
That's really cool.
Some guy did a quick test and he was showing just being around electronics that aren't even touching you and aren't even plugged in, man, he was getting like a couple of volts electricity just being next to a lamp.
Interesting.
And then he'd touch a grounding pad, like he bought one and plugged it into a wall, and the shit went down to 0 the second he touched it. So he's like, I'm sleeping on this.
I want to give it a go.
I wanted to.
I want to do the sleeping one and see.
You can just get any thing and plug it into a wall and it will help.
Yeah. Okay.
But and a lot of them are made actually here.
And
in
you've
Australia.
started doing
just the walking.
this week. You've started doing that stuff.
They say try and get 2 hours of grounding a day.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why I'm barefoot all the time now.
I was just trying to find this little article or something that I remember seeing a video about. People do this thing called sun gazing. I don't know if you've heard about this. It's a method of meditation that attempts to harness the healing power of the sun. And people say essentially what you do is you're looking directly at the sun, but what you're meant to do is during the sunset, when the sun is, I guess, at its weakest point, you stare at it with barefoot on the grass, with your eyes closed, and you let the eyelids kind of adjust the sun to your eyes, and then when you slowly open your eyes, you'll be able to directly look at the sun without it, fucking destroying your eyes. And apparently, people do this, and like they stay grounded, and they get the healing power of the sun and the grounding as well, like double timing it. Because the sun, I can imagine the sun is also super beneficial for us as well.
Yeah, they've talked about regulating your circadian rhythms.
Yes.
And how much light is in your eyes.
Vitamin D is
massive.
huge.
It's coming through your eyes, mostly for the circadian rhythms.
Right.
That's why they said don't, like the blue light filter at night is extremely important.
Ruins it.
There was a big study done hugely which showed women's hormones levels adjusted massively with just the blue light filter and nothing else on their phone. Massive difference.
It could be something just as simple as that. That's the reason why fertility is so down in the Western world.
Could be something very similar.
Everyone's not stuck to their phones in other countries.
I think that's a bit extreme what you're talking about.
That is pretty crazy. I mean, I'd like to look into it as well, just see what people are actually doing it for, what they have felt. But look, they're more labeling it as a meditation rather than anything else.
Yeah, okay. Well, What I want to say though is from every person, doctor, whatever I've ever spoken to, guru, just even getting light in your eyes in any degree. So if you walk around, try not to wear the sunglasses all the time, because even the reflection of the light off like anything, as long as it's UV, is good for your eyes.
Yeah.
Some amount, not all the time, not too much, but they said try and get a decent amount of light in your eyes every day, especially from first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Very important. Circadian rhythms is like one of the biggest factors of like getting you healthy.
Yeah, yeah. And if you do want a good dose of vitamin D, I did read up because I'm vitamin D deficient myself.
Okay.
I was trying to find out like what's the best ways I can just like really juice up the vitamin D input instead of just taking tablets. And if you do expose parts of your body that don't constantly get a lot of sunlight, they're more prone to absorb vitamin D quicker. So if you were to just like expose your back or your stomach to the sun, direct sun. Also, I also read up that getting direct sunlight through a window you don't get all the benefits of the waves, because I think glass is actually designed to bounce off some UV rays.
Yeah, okay.
A lot of
Makes
them are
sense.
treated that way, so you won't get a tan sitting in front of glass. So you got to kind of straight up like just put your bare back to the sun. I know
A little bit is good every
people
day.
doing those asshole tans. What do they call it? There's a name for it. There's just straight up just pointing your asshole directly at the sun, and it's meant to just give you big benefits. It was a craze in LA for a long time.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Is it anus bleaching?
No, it's not anus bleaching. Let me do a quick. Let me write this down real quick. One sec.
Asshole pointed at sky. Meditation.
Oh yeah, perineum sunning.
Peranium sun.
I think it was like massively debunked, but it got a whole bunch of people like straight up just like imagine just mooning the sun. People like were into it, dude.
Okay, so I got a confession to make.
You give it a go?
When I had the surgery on my tailbone,
Oh yeah.
I was recommended to put my butt in because it was real low. On
But
my
I've heard
tailbone.
direct sunlight on wounds help them
Yeah,
heal.
that's why I was
That
told.
makes sense.
So in my first house, I poked my asshole like literally door on my balcony, pointed up into the sky while
Yeah.
it hit my butt. 10 minutes a day at least.
You reckon it helped?
I felt like it helped a lot. The UV. Here's another thing. I swear this is what happened. I had mad warts on my feet. After one day I did a decent amount of baking in the sun, and I had my feet, like I was lying on my front, so my feet are like flat. So the soles of my feet were pointed to the sun. I did that for a couple of hours. Man, a couple of days later, I noticed, or like a week later, that the warts on my feet were almost gone.
Interesting.
And I swear that was either got to do with my gut health or it was the sun like fucking nailing the
That's cool.
the infection
Yeah.
in my foot.
Man.
Sun has so many benefits. We just got to get back to basics, man.
Yeah, we got to get back to the basics. We've just
Back to
too
basics.
long disconnected from what we naturally are as people.
That's it.
We just,
We're gonna have
I think we're
more
born
and
and
more
raised
of
in this
that.
modern world. You really do forget that we're just fucking animals.
Yeah.
And we've just built a life of comfort around us. Like, you got to get back to nature.
Totally.
That's when you, as a human being, will feel the most at home. Yeah.
That's why when you go into nature, you feel so refreshed.
Yeah,
when
you just feel
come back.
fucking amazing, dude.
You come back or beach day and you're like, wow, I feel rejuvenated.
Even just like
Imagine that, but all the time.
visiting my buddy who lives like just like about an hour down south of Sydney, you already just feel relaxed because there's just less shit around you. Like,
Yeah.
it's just nice, dude. You see a lot of greenery. And you're just like, oh man, it's nice here.
That's why I think about the wall thing, the line that they're building
Yeah.
in Saudi Arabia. I'm like, people are going to be going crazy.
Man, it's funny you bring that up. I actually wrote down something that I want to talk to you about. This is actually just emerging at the moment. But speaking of the construction in like Abu Dhabi and stuff like that, in Qatar for the World Cup coming up, apparently there's been some whistleblowers of the stadium workers that have been working on this construction of like the infrastructure and stadiums from when it was announced in 2010 that they were going to be hosting the World Cup. Dude, this is crazy. Staggering 6,500 migrant workers have died during the construction of the several stadiums
Holy
from
crap.
2010 to 2020. and it's been covered up massively by Qatar, and it's only just starting to emerge now. And 6,500, and these are all Bangladesh, Nepal, Indian, Pakistani workers. Essentially, like I was saying in the other episode, they go to Loan Shark, hook them up with a job in Abu Dhabi or something like that. They then work to send money back home, and they're essentially stuck there, and they're living in poverty with really crazy conditions, and it's terrible work. So these guys are like 40-degree heat, 14 hours a day, straight up just dying.
And it's like slave labor.
And it's like modern day slavery, and they're given rotten food and stuff. Like, these people are having like dysentery, barely any water, and they're just dropping off. And the death reports have just been like cardiovascular failure, just generic deaths, just trying to cover up respiratory illness. And this has been happening since 2010. And someone did like the stats from like all the world construction events, like the Olympics and stuff like that. It's like Beijing Olympics, 2 died during the construction. South Africa, I think Olympics or something like 14 in total. One of the Winter Olympics, I think it was like around 15, and then it just shows Qatar World Cup, and it's like it's like comparing 1 million to 1 billion. It was just like such a big amount, and you're like, what the fuck's going on here, man? It just shows you, man. Like, I think it's just like it's all for show, and when you really pull back what's happening in that country, it's just really messed up.
So is this the World Cup for them has already happened, right?
It's about to kick off.
Oh, it's about to kick off.
No
so
pun
this
intended.
is just like this is the build up until that point.
Yeah, because they had like all the Olympics. They got to build the infrastructure to get everyone there, because obviously everyone around the world's going to be visiting. Several stadiums. It's meant to be like this World Cup for Qatar, because they got the money. It's going to be like state of the art design stadiums and stuff like that. It's going to be a huge thing, but like everything,
But they're just getting the shittest,
they got the money,
dodgiest workers.
They got the money, but they want the shittest, like the cheapest labor. So it's like essentially slavery.
Whoa.
And the living conditions, dude, these guys are like living in hallways.
Has anyone
just dirty
come
shit.
out and reported like, we're going to wreck you on this, or
Well,
we're going to hold you accountable?
I don't know what's like. This is only just emerging
What
now.
if they're just like, nah, we're not going to do it anymore?
It's hard because it's a different country, and it's just like, well, what you do in your own country is the thing. Also, videos have been emerging. I think they've been paying a lot of the Southeast Asian workers and stuff to be fans at airports and stuff of like Brazilian fans, Argentina World Cup fans, and they all kitted out in the full jerseys, celebrating in the airports and stuff. Some people are saying they do this all the time because they test security for like fans, but it's so weird because it's just like a whole bunch of like Indians in like Argentina jerseys just like cheering and stuff. It's like, what's going on here, dude? Hilarious.
How bizarre.
But isn't that intense, man? 6,500 people. That's such a stupidly large amount of deaths for the construction of a World Cup. It blows my mind, man. So clearly something terrible is happening, and they just don't want
Definitely
to.
some dodgy shit going on.
So yeah, I think Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, and all that. It looks lavish and amazing, but it's great for those like Shahs, whatever, the 1% that are like that own everything.
They own their house is like a whole suburb.
Yeah, they just own
literally. They've got like suburbs with like 10,000 rooms.
Yeah,
It's like, dude, you'll never.
just gold toilets and shit.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the percentage is just
Chromed
like
up Lambos.
yeah, just the most ridiculous things, like issue number 1 of Superman comics worth $1 billion, and it's just like, yeah, I just got that. I give it to my son.
I read it on the toilet.
Yeah, I rip it up and then I use it as toilet paper.
These guys that just have way too much money.
Stupid money, but then everyone else, the majority in those countries are living in extreme poverty. Pretty crazy.
Yeah,
man.
it's like that crazy. It's like China. There's only super rich and super poor.
Yeah.
There's real no middle ground.
Yeah, it feels like they're getting rid of the middle class here as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's really it is.
It's really just
tipping.
splitting that.
It's tipping to like everyone's getting way poorer who are already poor, and the super rich are just getting crazy
like
rich.
Exponentially rich. Like it's just year on year, just compounding.
It has to break at some point.
But there's going to be an uproar.
There will.
There'll be a revolt. Dude, you wanted me to remind you of Super Mario.
Oh yes, yeah, okay. Here we go. Well, also thank you for bringing that up. That's insane. I hope that I can't imagine how painful the life of these workers are. Like,
I know.
Working to death.
I think I read it was like 8,000 for 3 months of work. $8,000 and 14-hour days, 40-degree heat. You can imagine
Dude, it would
waking
be like,
up and they were just having diarrhea.
and imagine just being like watching people dropping dead around you. You'd
Yeah,
be like,
just like-
I'm next.
I think they actually, I can't remember the stats for accurately, so please do your own research, but I think they estimated it was 14 people per country dying each week.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was a stupid amount.
I couldn't imagine how scary that'd be.
Terrible, man. And like people, like husbands will be just ringing up their wives being like, okay, I'll call you after my shift. They don't get a call back. Then the wife's like, trying to call the embassy, like, what's going on? What's happening to my husband? Oh, he just died. He had cardiovascular issues.
And they'll be like, he was 27 years old.
Yeah, he was healthy.
And what happened? Oh, you know,
Terrible, man.
he's too old.
So yeah, stay tuned for that. Keep an eye out. I mean, look, you hope the world's going to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, too much money involved with the World Cup. They're not going to cancel it. When there's money involved, human rights go out the door. But I hope this blows up, man.
I hope that everyone's held accountable, but I feel like they won't be. They just get fired and then go into the private sector or go somewhere else and then get another sweet job, and everyone just forgets.
Yeah. A country like that,
so
they're just
annoying.
like, they'll get away with it.
Yeah, they're 100% country like that. So this Mario thing I wanted to bring up to you was that I saw this video, this guy, I will find his name for you because someone want to look him up. Bear with me 1 second.
While Daniel's looking that up, to those listeners out there, he's lended me Super Mario Odyssey and Odyssey or Galaxy?
Odyssey.
And I've been playing that a lot. That is a very, very fun game. I highly recommend any Mario fans out there, give it a go.
Okay, this guy's name is Kazi Emana. Kazeemanauar.
On YouTube.
This guy has went into Mario 64 and rewritten the entire code from scratch and optimized it so much that he got more than twice the performance of the game, optimizing all the inefficiencies in the code.
Interesting.
He got more than twice the performance himself, all in C+. He would show the difference and be like, this is how I optimized this.
Yeah.
This is how I made, like, instead of like, writing code for every single coin, he'd be like, I'm going to just identify all the coins in the thing as this one thing and then reference that later. Like, don't ask me to explain this code.
An efficient
thing to
way
you.
of coding.
Just all the inefficiencies. And the reason he did it is because he wanted his mod of Mario N64 to run really good.
Makes
so
sense.
he rewrote the whole fucking
Cull
game.
the fattiness of the build so you can have more memory to store
And he
your...
played the actual mod he created on the N64 and it ran perfect.
Amazing.
And he rewrote it. So he knows every fucking ounce of code. But that would have taken a whole team of guys back then forever.
Yeah.
And he did it himself and optimized
Man, that's crazy you bring that up.
The whole
Because
team.
we were actually just
I'll show you
talking
him
before
doing
the episode started. Because I had watched a... What game was it that I had watched? Oh yeah, it was. I was looking at how Prince of Persia was built back in I think it was 1989, and I was telling Daniel like, if me and him really stuck to it, we could probably create a game at that level in probably 4 to 5 months if we just stuck at it. Like, it would be that easy, I reckon, especially with all the tech that we have now.
This is his mod, and he shows how he's like, this is the game running, and he's talking about when you optimize the code at like such a small level, every millisecond counts. And if you're saving 2 milliseconds there, 2 milliseconds there, 2 milliseconds here, constantly. Look at his mod, man. He's built this from scratch
This
and
is
he's playing it
incredible.
on an N64 himself.
For those of you that are familiar with Super Mario 64, which should be all of you, I'm watching some gameplay right now, and you should definitely check this video. It's insane. I'm seeing
he
levels.
runs the game
These levels are
124%
crazy, dude.
faster, and it runs 60 FPS, and so in the game they couldn't run multiplayer because the frame rate would have been too low to run two people at the same time and get the 30 FPS that they needed. he's able to get more than 30 FPS with 2 people and make a multiplayer mod himself and write it into the original game and run it on an N64.
That's crazy,
This is how crazy this guy is.
I'm looking at this. I'm just wowed about this level design, dude. Like, it's weird to see Super Mario 64 with like it's like almost like hidden levels, like you never saw before. It's really really cool.
He explains how the processor and CPU work, how they run against each other, and then how you can optimize the game from there. It's so technical, but I watched the entire thing, and he's like built his own source code so he can see the CPU, the GPU in real time using the game's font and everything, and it's running. He's got an FPS counter in the real game.
That's cool.
He's built it all himself, so he can just like look at what's going on. This is how well he understands the game.
Can you skim to a little bit of gameplay over there?
Yeah, I'll try and find some.
This is cool, man. This is really really cool, and so creative.
So look how it converts all this code there, and that's his optimized code. So that's how the inefficient it was, and he's just made it that.
To not only do this, but then also have the design to create mods. That's a smart mind.
So he's able to scrub. No, that's him able to scrub all these instances of things being reiterated too many times.
Right.
So he's like, if there's a coin, you only need to reference it once, but the team would reference it because, again, you got multiple people coding it, and so if you have multiple people, they're like, I don't really know what he did with that code, so I'm just going to write a separate code that might.
They'd have been in charge of a level each.
Yeah, something like that, and be like, I don't really know what he did here, or this guy just did the coins, or this guy did that, so I need to reference it again. But when you're writing it all yourself, he talks about how you can optimize it and how much inefficiency there was in the original game.
But you could also chalk that down to just that was the industry standard at the time, and
it was a new language. They said C+ was a pretty new language at the time, but this guy, understand an entire game from scratch yourself is a big feat. But look how smooth the game is too. He's written like the Super Mario where you get the cloud power in Super Mario Galaxy, where you can create clouds. Where you flick the controller and it spins a cloud out behind you. You get the cloud cap. Do you remember that?
I could not play Galaxy too much. It was.
You didn't like it?
I didn't really like it at all.
Finish that game.
But even the camera movements is really smooth, because that's one thing I found frustrating going back to 64. How jagged the camera was, just to look around.
Yeah, you can tell it's running heaps smooth now.
Really smooth.
Yeah, he's getting his cloud cap.
Sorry.
You see? Bless you. See, he's coded in his own powers. Watch. He's going to use it.
Dude, how crazy is the jumps and everything? That's insane.
He's good at it.
Well, yeah, really, really cool stuff. For those listeners out there, I definitely recommend checking this out if you're a fan.
He's put new textures in as well. He put high-quality textures on the entire game and still able to run high frame rate.
Very, very cool.
So he's like, a lot can be done when you look at inefficiencies. Can you imagine the inefficiencies now with how much code is being written in games?
Yeah, how big they are.
Oh my God.
That's crazy, man.
You should watch. There's this really cool thing about how they optimized and how optimized and how intense games needed to be on the SNES. And because they only had 16 kilobytes of memory that they could use to store everything. So they said, how are we going to get the shapes to be huge characters and then also the main character? And they showed how efficient they had to be with the cells, even the graphics. And we've only got this many cells for graphics. We have to use the whole game on this.
That's so crazy.
Very smart.
I even remember when I was studying animation and 3D effects and stuff like that, I went into the direction of going into gaming at the beginning, but then I changed my mind. I went to screen media. But because I did gaming in the first year, I was trained when modeling to just really, whatever you did, bring the polygon count as low as possible, because it all adds up at the end of the day. So I was doing builds that were Lara Croft Tomb Raider, just wedge head, just to get the animation moving quickly. But then after that, I was just like, nah, dude, I want to double down on this shit. I want nice smooth rounded models and shit like that. So
nice. Yeah, well now it's because of that, because you can have unlimited amounts of shit in games, it leads to a lot of laggy games. I remember when
and they don't test anything anyway now. Anyway, it's all about us being the beta testers.
Yeah, it's all bugs.
Oh, just here's a new patch. Here's a new patch.
Yeah.
The quality of games is great, but at the same time, you're not getting good products anymore.
I think Nintendo's still dropping good products. Zelda, my God, that like
That is one of the best games I've played in a very, very long time. That game, I'm
Mario
so excited.
was awesome. I don't think it needed any patches.
No, it definitely doesn't. I mean, even though it is telling me to try and update every time I play it.
Oh, is
but
it?
I think it's just trying to add in new like outfits and stuff. That's all it
okay.
is.
That's cool. You should do it.
I'm still getting through the game, so like one outfit per place is enough for me. I don't need any
Okay,
extra.
you get a
outfits.
lot later on.
Oh, really?
Wait till you get to the end. You're going to be like, this is the best. You'll see why.
I'm doing the best at this.
You'll see why. This is a multiplayer. And when you said polygons, he also reshaped all the polygons for like Bowser and stuff and optimized it. So he's talking about how he was able to like smooth it all out and make better textures.
You know how Mario now is like, he's reached his peak visual form now. Like there's a caricature look for Mario that's been like that for probably almost a decade. Do you think that will evolve again with new technology, or the Mario that we have now, the look of him, like the one that's going to be in the movie? That's it. Same with like Sonic. Like he's evolved to a point now. I can't see him changing anymore.
Well, they tried to change his look and they all shat on him and went, bring him back, make him look like the old Sonic.
I think
Why
what they
is
were
his
doing,
eyes so fucked up?
I think what they did though was, I don't think they tried
look like a real hedgehog.
I don't think they tried to change his look. I think they tried to make him look realistic.
Yeah, but that was stupid. So
It's terrible. Yeah, terrible decision.
As soon as it strayed from the look, it was like, bring it back to the OG. Fucking fix this. So much backlash that they did.
But do you reckon that with new technology we'll see a new design for these classic characters? Because they've changed every iteration up until this point, but this is probably the longest they've stayed the same, like with that classic look.
It's just Mario?
Mario and Sonic, I feel like they have looked the same for like almost a decade. Before that, almost every game they changed the look of them. You know, it just kept evolving from like 2D to 3D, and different illustrators on board, different animators, and they changed the shapes. But like Mario has looked consistent through a few games now and animations for a long time, and Sonic as well. Like those are iconic characters. You can't fuck with them anymore. But that's also the result of technology. So do you think we're going to get another leap in technology for games that they're going to have to adapt and change the character design?
No.
But think about asking this question 15 years ago. You wouldn't be able to comprehend what they were going to happen.
Dude, like Mickey Mouse and Looney Tunes, they haven't changed at all in like 80 years.
They have. Well, they've gone from 2D to 3D, and then the blend from like low polygon 3D to nice smooth animation 3D is like now it's like it's capped. The look is the look now.
Yeah, okay.
But they would have, like in Disneyland, if you would have gone there throughout the decades, Mickey Mouse would have looked different every time you went there.
Maybe.
But now he would just look the same. Like that is iconic now.
Let's see in 50 years, I'd say.
I'd be keen to know what these iconic characters will look like. I'm sure they'll get redesigned.
Hard to know. You'd have to wait a long, long time to see. Ask me again in 50 years on the podcast.
I will, dude. You know what? And by that time, Fast and Furious 94 might be out.
Yeah, okay. Fast and Furious 100, baby.
Damn. This podcast went for a long time.
Let's hope. I think we've got time for one more thing.
I got something for you.
Go.
I found this phenomenon called rain of animals.
Okay.
And it's a rare meteorological phenomenon in which flightless animals fall from the sky. Such occurrences have been reported in many countries throughout history. One hypothesis is that tornadic water spouts sometimes pick up creatures such as fish and frogs and carry them up for up to several miles. However, this aspect of the phenomenon has never been witnessed by scientists. And there's even documented events as far as 1680 of when it rained snakes one time.
Oh, damn.
And there's a time in Singapore, I think in the 1800s, where fish just rained down from the sky.
Yeah, I've heard about the fish thing. I've heard that they were able to prove that with something that the eggs were so light that they were able to be carried up by the currents.
Really?
Yeah, the eggs were so light and they hatched in the sky because they were like sitting on the clouds or something.
But they would have to like evolve and grow into a fish before they landed.
No, so they hatched like as a tiny little baby, and so the fish that fell from the sky weren't like this.
I'm picturing a full-grown fish.
No, the fish were like this.
Yeah, okay.
They were babies, baby fish.
Okay.
And so they said those were raining from the sky because apparently they hatched in the sky and fell. I've heard of this
when
story.
a fish has eggs, it's like hundreds. So I
It's
can
like
imagine.
thousands.
Yeah. But yeah, apparently there's been frogs,
Snakes.
fish, snakes. Imagine that, just snakes just flying from the sky. How freaky is that? I wonder if we're going to see that again.
Oh man, that
Reminds me of the Watchmen series. Did you ever watch that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wait, the series?
The series, yeah.
No, I just watched the movie.
Highly recommend the series, dude.
How
It's
old
incredible. Came in out in 2019, and if you were to watch it, dude, the things that they touch upon started occurring within the couple of years after. So it would have been filmed in 2017, 2018, released 2019, and the things that they're talking about in that series didn't even happen until like 2021, 22, or even 2020. So it was so ahead of, like, not so ahead of its time, but even just the way the story went for a modern story, it was ahead of its time. It was very, very well
Cool.
done.
I'll have to watch it.
When I watched it, I was like, this is one of the best TV shows I've seen in a very, very long time. Like, I haven't seen good TV like that in a long time. In terms of series, it's been a long time since I've seen a quality
Damn.
show like
Okay,
that.
I gotta look
for a
into it.
modern show.
Okay, I'll look into it.
Yeah, I highly recommend watching the movie first and then watching.
I've seen the movie.
Yeah, there's a little refresher.
I know the movie very well. I've
Okay.
seen it so many times.
Perfect.
I loved it.
So good, dude. I love that movie. I know a lot of people aren't fans of Zack Snyder's work, but I love him. I love his stuff.
I like that
Very
movie.
cinematic.
And I know a lot of people also didn't like the movie because they said, well, the best parts are only the parts from the comics. And I think that's true, but I still think the movie was really good.
I think it was great. They said the best parts were the parts in the comic.
Yeah, the parts that were direct, like the best shots in the film.
Oh yeah,
were all
but that's his style anyway. He literally would take the comic panel and
make it real.
expand it.
Yeah.
I like that. That's what he did that
I
with
thought
300 as well. Like, that's his thing.
I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
I wish there was just more.
Yeah, dude.
was so
It's
good.
so sick. Well, this series, give it a go. It's very satisfying.
Yeah.
It's very well done, and I feel like that's going to stand the test of time for a little while.
Write this down.
Write this down. Is that it for the day, for the segment?
Let me check again.
Write this down. You're going to snap the table, boy.
I think we're done.
We think we're done. All right.
I mean, then look at this then. I can't imagine a more beautiful thing.
And with that note, everyone, thank you for watching and listening to another episode of Double Dose. We'll catch you next week with a fresh new episode.
Thank you guys. Bye.
See ya.